Walking versus running to get to 10% body fat. In my 8 years of dieting and fat loss, I've learned one major secret with regards to cardio. I've tried it with my clients and they've elicited similar results, if not better. Cardio can be done in a few various ways inside and outside the gym, but it takes doing it the right way to acquire the desired results. Both low intensity steady state cardio and high intensity interval training have their benefits. However, one may take less time than the other, and one may exert more energy than the other. Each have their distinct differences, but they can help elicit necessary results to get to 10% body fat. Before we get into the science of which one works better for you, let me explain the difference. With regards to HIIT or LISS, we often see the term VO2 max in the scientific literature. VO2 max is the measurement of the maximum amount of oxygen a person can utilize during intense exercise. For example, when I take a walk with my dog Blue, my average heart rate is at 90 beats per minute and can confidently say I'm reaching about 25% of my VO2 max. When jogging on the treadmill, my heart rate is roughly at 140 beats per minute, which reaches 65% of my VO2 max. And finally, HIIT, my heart rate peaks at 170 beats per minute during sprints and goes as low as 140 beats per minute during my active recovery, which is 85% of my VO2 max. HIIT is short in time and requires high bursts of effort followed by active recovery periods. A typical HIIT workout should take about 20 to 30 minutes. The modality of HIIT may vary, which may include exercises such as sprinting, biking, battling ropes, or any other intense interval training. Now with LISS, you're exerting 25% of your VO2 max. It is a cardiovascular exercise in which you do aerobic activity and it is at a low to moderate intensity for a continuous and often extended period. LISS is most associated with walking and activities such as hiking and swimming. My biggest secret is we can use both types of cardio to our advantage. And through this video, I'll show you exactly how to extract maximum potential from both forms. But before we continue, this would make my entire week. Down below, gently tap the like button for the algorithm and so that people can find this content and help more people searching for this to perfectly implement cardio to reach their fat loss goals. Now, let's compare HIIT and LISS with relation to burning fat. Most people don't even consider walking as cardio because, according to mayoclinic.org, the average American gets between 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day. In my experience, this is overall very low activity. With every single client I've ever worked with, when we've at least doubled their daily steps, boom, their weight drops. And let me explain. Research has shown that a low activity exercise like walking taps mainly into fat stores. So why aren't we using this more? Research has also shown that you burn between 250 to 600 calories per 10,000 steps daily. Let's take the former at the low end of 250 steps. At the end of the week, you burn 1,750 calories. In a month, 7,000 calories, and in a year, 84,000 calories alone just from walking. We know that 1 pound of fat roughly equates to 3,500 calories, which means in a week, you can burn half a pound of fat. And in a month, you can burn up to 2 pounds of fat. And in a year, you can burn 24 pounds of fat, or at least keep that fat off. So with myself and all my clients, we start at a minimum of 8,000 daily steps. If we're losing between 1 to 2 pounds off the scale each week on average, then that's all we'll do for cardio. So here's a few ways that you can walk more. Number one, what I like doing is on my Apple Watch, it notifies me when I've just been stagnant or sitting for an hour. So I get up every hour and I walk around for at least 10 minutes, or like you're seeing, I'm at my standing desk and I'm standing and I'll try and move around a lot. The second thing I like doing is when I'm in the gym, I do about 21 sets in total. Between each set, you normally take a minute break. And within that minute break, I can get about 100 steps resting. So instead of like sitting at the gym or just being on your phone, I get a minute's worth of walking. So at the end, if you're able to get 100 steps in each and every single minute, that's 2,100 steps. That's a majority of your steps already done. Another thing I like doing is parking very far from the location I need to go to, be at the gym, the grocery store. This helps in terms of being able to get your steps around, and also rather set some rules for yourself in terms of being able to stay active. There's so many ways that you can accumulate those 10,000 steps super easy, and I'll add a few more of these that you can do throughout your day. Also, with regards to steps, let's say you're doing 8,000 and you're not losing any weight. If you have the time, increase that 8,000 after the first week to 9,000. And then to 10,000. In my own experience, each 1,000 steps is roughly 10 minutes worth of walking. So depending on how much time you're able to invest in terms of walking, you can get up to even 15,000 steps. So the difference between doing 10,000 and 15,000 steps is 50 minutes worth of walking. So you can separate that 50 minutes throughout the day, or you can clump them up into one session where you're walking in the evening and another session where you're walking in the afternoon, for example. Now, when you're unable to hit those steps, this is when we start introducing high intensity interval training. With regards to high intensity interval training, research has shown that both fat and carbohydrates are burned, and the proportions vary with the intensity of the exercise. It also shows as exercise intensity increases, so does the reliance upon muscle glycogen for energy over fat stores. As the exercise gets more intense, so does the proportion of energy coming from glycogen compared to fat. This is why a very low intensity activity like walking taps mainly into fat stores, whereas high intensity sprints pulls much more heavily from your carbohydrate stores. Research has also shown that HIIT exercises increases your resting energy expenditure and adiponectin in an intensity-dependent manner for as long as 48 to 24 hours respectively, especially in overweight individuals. The increase in metabolic activity from the exercise can outlast your workouts. In fact, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, also known as EPOC, can last for more than a day after you stop exercising. Depending on the duration and the intensity of your physical activity, in essence, what matters is not what you're burning during the cardio session itself, but rather what happens to the fat balance after a 24-hour period. Multiple studies, such as those conducted by Laval University, East Tennessee State University, Baylor College of Medicine, and the University of New South Wales, show otherwise though. The research specifically shows that the results reinforce the notion that for a given level of energy expenditure, vigorous exercise favors negative energy and lipid balance to a greater extent than exercise of a low, moderate intensity. Long story short, with regards to fat loss, high intensity interval training allows you to burn more calories in a shorter period compared to low intensity steady state cardio. This can affect your overall fat balance in a 24-hour period. The major downside is that it's difficult to recover from. In my experience, I find the next day to be difficult to complete my daily tasks, especially with training and cardio. So the overall format of high intensity interval training is with a portion or period of burst high intensity interval training, so high that you can't have a conversation, followed by an active recovery period. So for example, you sprint for 30 seconds at your maximum power output. At this point, you shouldn't be able to have a conversation with someone. It should be very hard to even be breathing, right? And then you can have an active recovery, such as a walk or a jog for about 60 seconds and then repeat. And you can do this for a 20-minute cycle where you sprint for 30 seconds and then you jog for another minute. Or if you want to be able to play around with the intensity, you can sprint for 30 seconds, jog for 30 seconds and do that. Or you can sprint for a minute and then jog for a minute. It all depends on your level of fitness, but I would recommend doing 30-second sprints followed by a 1-minute active jog and then 30 sprints again for about 20 to 30 minutes. And also I wouldn't recommend doing more than 3 sessions in a week. And if you want to be more conservative, doing 20 minutes. When I start implementing high intensity interval training, let's say we're training together for 16 weeks, I like to pair this for the last 4 weeks when weight loss becomes a little bit more stubborn, and we're also trying to have a different intensity in terms of being able to tap into your fat stores. So the way I like to go about it is take main advantage of walking, right? Because number one, it reduces the risks of injury, which HIIT does give you. And also, you are quite fatigued, you're heavily fatigued, and it takes your body a lot more recovery time doing high intensity interval training. So the secret here is using both cardio tools to the best of your advantage, but also taking into account the risks. So rather using HIIT later on into your overall fat loss phase is a much more intelligent way to go about it. How do you maximize the effects of LISS and HIIT? On the screen is my entire cardio regimen I did throughout my 13-week prep. Steady state cardio, if you start your fat loss journey, I highly recommend you start here to develop your endurance. Consistency is paramount to fat loss. Steady state cardio is much better for adherence. It's simply unsustainable to sprint every day due to fatigue and wear and tear on your joints. For HIIT, choosing between LISS and HIIT really depends on how much time you must dedicate towards your cardio. So in conclusion, it really depends on the time. But personally, I've seen the best results with walking just because you're able to retain a lot more muscle tissue. It's really sustainable long term, even past your dieting phase. And then incorporating certain HIIT sessions when you're just trying to dial in to get to that 10%, right? So imagine you're doing a complete 16 weeks. I would try and do as much walking maybe for 10 weeks, right? And maybe get up to 15,000 steps and then start implementing HIIT when you just don't have enough time. And balancing both of those based off of how much time you have dedicated towards your fat loss goals will make a difference. But if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below. So again, I'm doing a giveaway in this video of $100 of HP Labs, Gymshark, or Alpha Elite. All you need to do is like the video, comment down below, hey Mike, this was my favorite part, or ask me a question, and also be subscribed. And I'll leave the video there and I'll announce the winners. If you have any questions about your cardio routine, if you need advice, I'm in the comments for you. But I'll leave the video here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.